Have you ever felt that being nice to everyone doesn't always get you the respect or appreciation you deserve? Maybe you've noticed that the more accommodating and agreeable you are, the more people seem to take advantage of your kindness. Today, we're going to explore the paradox of being nice, and how sometimes being too nice can backfire in unexpected ways. Niceness is generally seen as a positive trait, right? We're taught from a young age to be kind, considerate, and selfless. You might have even heard sayings like, "Nice guys finish last," or "kill them with kindness." These ideas reflect how deeply ingrained the value of being nice is in many cultures. But there's a catch. What happens when being overly nice leads to negative consequences, like being taken advantage of, or worse, losing your own sense of identity? This issue isn't just a simple social phenomenon. It touches on important psychological concepts like people-pleasing, the tendency to prioritize others' needs over your own. It's also deeply tied to a philosophical debate about how much of our behavior should be focused on others versus how much should focus on ourselves. Let's break this down. On the surface, being nice seems like a virtue. It's what makes us social creatures. It helps us build trust, form relationships, and create harmony in groups. In psychology, this aligns with the idea of social cohesion, which refers to the bonds that unite members of a society. These bonds are often strengthened through kindness, cooperation, and helping behavior. But psychologists have pointed out that too much niceness can lead to serious issues. One of these is resentment. Imagine this. You're always the one who agrees to stay late at work, always saying yes to your friends' requests, and never asking for anything in return. Over time, you might start to feel frustrated, but instead of expressing it, you keep being nice. That's when resentment builds up, leading to emotional burnout or even passive-aggressive behaviors. Another issue that arises from excessive niceness is manipulation. People may begin to expect your help without appreciating it, or worse, they may use your kindness to their advantage. This is when being nice turns into a disadvantage. You're seen as a pushover, and people may start to take your kindness for granted. And that's where the paradox lies. The more you try to be nice to everyone, the more likely it is that you end up feeling unappreciated, stressed out, or even manipulated. This paradox isn't just psychological. It also connects to a long-standing philosophical debate about altruism and self-interest. Philosophers throughout history have asked whether we should act solely for the benefit of others or if it's important to focus on our own needs too. One philosopher who deeply questioned this balance was Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche criticized what he called slave morality, which he saw as a type of moral system based on humility, passivity, and self-sacrifice. According to Nietzsche, being too nice or selfless could stem from a desire for approval or avoidance of discomfort, rather than true virtue. In his view, constantly putting others first might reflect weakness instead of strength. He argued for a philosophy of self-assertion, where individuals embrace their desires, goals, and personal power, without feeling guilty for putting themselves first. In psychology, this idea aligns with the concept of assertiveness. Assertiveness sits between passive niceness and aggressive self-interest. Being assertive means you respect the needs of others, but you also prioritize your own needs, without feeling guilty. It's about finding that middle ground where kindness doesn't come at the cost of your self-respect. Today, this paradox of being nice plays out in many aspects of life, whether at work, in friendships, or even in romantic relationships. You might be known as the nice one in your group, but over time, this niceness can be misinterpreted as a lack of boundaries. When you always agree to help or say yes, it becomes easy for others to take advantage of your generosity, even if they don't mean to. Think about it. How often do you say yes to something, not because you want to, but because you don't want to disappoint someone? This could be agreeing to take on extra work when you're already overwhelmed, or constantly being the one to make plans or offer support in your friendships. Over time, this can lead to burnout, where you feel emotionally drained and disconnected, or unbalanced relationships, where you give far more than you receive. Not only does this create resentment and frustration within you, but it can also lead others to assume that your kindness is something they're entitled to. This is why being nice can sometimes lead to feeling unappreciated or overlooked, because when people start to expect your niceness, they stop seeing it as a choice you're making and start seeing it as just part of who you are. Now that we've uncovered the problems that can come with being overly nice, the real question is, how can we break out of this paradox? The solution isn't about abandoning kindness. Instead, it's about rethinking how we approach it, finding ways to be kind without losing ourselves in the process. It's about learning to balance compassion for others with respect for our own needs. So how do we get there? Let's explore some ways to shift from people-pleasing to healthy, genuine kindness. Step 1. Recognize the cost of being too nice. The first step in solving the paradox is simply recognizing when your niceness is costing you more than it's benefiting others. Often, we don't realize we're being too nice until we feel exhausted, underappreciated, or even resentful. Ask yourself, when was the last time you said yes to something and immediately regretted it? Or when was the last time you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, only to feel drained afterward? This awareness is crucial. Niceness can be a wonderful trait, but it becomes harmful when it forces you to abandon your own needs. Once you recognize those moments, you can start to see patterns, whether it's always agreeing to stay late at work, constantly helping friends at the expense of your time, or avoiding conflict because you don't want to upset anyone. Step 2. Understand what's driving your niceness. Once you've started recognizing when you're being too nice, the next step is to dig deeper and ask yourself why. Why are you always putting others ahead of yourself? Is it because you genuinely want to help? Or is there something else going on? Are you afraid of conflict? Worried about rejection or disappointing others? This step is all about self-awareness. Psychologists refer to this as understanding your internal motivations. Sometimes we act out of fear or a need for validation. We want to be liked, accepted, or avoid feeling guilty. But if we don't confront these fears, we end up stuck in a cycle of saying yes to everything, even when we don't want to. The next time you feel pressure to be overly nice, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I feel I have to? That simple question can be a game changer. It gives you the space to rethink your automatic responses. Step 3. Practice saying no with confidence. Now that you've recognized the cost of being too nice and understood why it happens, it's time to take action. And one of the most powerful tools you can use is learning how to say no. But here's the trick. It's not about saying no to everything. It's about saying no to the right things. Saying no isn't about being selfish. It's about protecting your energy so that when you do say yes, it's a meaningful and authentic yes. When you say yes out of obligation, it often leads to resentment. But when you say no strategically, you're able to invest more time and energy into the things that truly matter. The next time you're asked to do something that feels overwhelming, try saying, I can't right now, but maybe another time. This gives you control over your decisions without burning bridges or feeling guilty. Remember, when you protect your boundaries, you're not just protecting your time, you're also preserving your emotional well-being. Step 4. Reconnect with authentic kindness. Finally, once you've set boundaries and learned how to say no, you can start reconnecting with authentic kindness. This is where you give not because you feel you have to, but because you truly want to. When kindness comes from a place of authenticity, it doesn't drain you, it fulfills you. Being authentically kind means knowing your limits, understanding when to help and when to step back. It means being present with others, but also being present with yourself. While being nice is often seen as a virtue, it can also lead to negative consequences when taken to the extreme. The paradox of being nice shows that if you always prioritize others at the expense of your own needs, you may end up feeling unappreciated, resentful, or even used. But by setting boundaries, practicing assertiveness, and reflecting on your motivations, you can find a healthier balance. Genuine kindness isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about knowing your limits and still offering what you can.